What is up, people? It is your boy Fishing. I'm going to do a Florida preview and prediction today. I'm going to do a lot of other teams too, but I figured it only right to start out with Florida. Now, of course, if you like the video, man, hit the subscribe and the like button. Your boy does appreciate it. Now, let's start out with kind of just what both teams are going to want to do in this game. Utah's going to want to play sound defensive line play, kind of want to stack the box. They're going to want to stop Florida's run. And let's just be honest here, both Billy Napier and Utah's whole team is going to want to and need to run the ball in this game. Now let's go through. I mean, Florida has an unknown at quarterback. A ton of potential, but it kind of need more consistency to see there. And that's just what it is right now. A ton of potential in AR though. Florida's got a really good running back room, not much experience, but really stacked in talent. And Florida's also rebuilt the whole offensive line. Okay, so I think Florida's going to run the ball on Utah. Utah does have a good defense. The secondary is a little bit questionable, but the defensive line and the linebacker play has been really not too bad. They had a few, I think it was 6 all Pac-12 players last year on that defense. I think they lost maybe one or two, but still really not a bad defense. But like I said, both teams are going to want to run the ball in this game. The difference where I think this game comes into play, and I'm going to pick it based on this, it's in the swamp, right? It's in the swamp in September. Cam Rising is going to want to throw the ball a little bit or going to need to, especially if Florida can stop any type of the run. But I feel like, if to say Utah's not going to run the ball on us, I just don't really believe it. You got Tavion Thomas at running back. He's probably a top 10 running back in the country. And then not only that, but you have a little bit of depth behind him that can run the ball. And Utah's offensive line is they're a really good unit. They seem to always fall forward on the defensive line and create holes for the running backs. The secondary play, like I said, a little bit suspect, which this is where I'm going to come in and give my opinion. I think Anthony Richardson will be able to throw the ball a little bit. I don't think he might have just an amazing blowout game, but I think he will be able to throw the ball pretty well. We have decent wide receivers at Florida now, and with Utah's secondary being a little bit suspect, I think that might get exploited. And also with the threat of running the ball for Florida, I think this comes into play heavily. And being at home, the humidity, the heat for Utah, a team like that, I'm going to have to give the win to Florida. I've said all offseason that Utah was going to beat us opening the game, and I was being completely honest about that. I've changed my mind. I think Florida gets a big win here, big opening win to start out Billy Napier's tenure here at Florida. Now, for Kentucky, Kentucky's a really weird one, right? They have like these super senior teams. They build that up, and then they have a 10-win season, and then they're kind of back at the 7-win mark, and then you kind of were wondering what's going on. They don't recruit very well, not every year at least. They never get really top 50 players very often. I mean, they just don't really seem to get much talent, and not even that, but not really in the transfer portal either. You got Will Levis back. He's going to be a really good quarterback, but you lost Wandale Robinson, and there's not really any big name to step up there. You got Chris Rodriguez, the running back. He had a DUI. I mean, he's having problems. He might be suspended for this game even. You lose Wandale Robinson to the NFL draft, and you don't really have anybody there to replace him. You were supposed to get Javon Baker from Alabama, and that just kind of didn't pan out. I don't know why that was. Kentucky's just kind of looking really questionable to me. A lot of people are thinking they're going to be really good. I'm kind of leaning the other way around. They had a 10-win season last year. I don't think this momentum continues. I think Kentucky might not be that great of a team. Of course they're going to play good in the trenches. Their secondary may be a bit questionable, but I think offensive line and defensive line, they'll play well, but I just don't think they have the talent around to keep up with much teams in the SEC, but not with Florida in this game, especially because it's at Florida too. Florida starts off with the first 3 games that are played in Gainesville, and this is the second one. So I'm going to give Florida the win over Kentucky. And like I said, I mean, they lose the key pieces from last year, and it doesn't matter how good of a quarterback you think Will Levis could be. He's not going to be able to do it all on his own, in my opinion. And like I said, you weren't able to get Javon Baker from Alabama and onto the roster for some reason. Chris Rodriguez having issues. You do got Kavache Smoke coming back, so that's one thing too. But like I said, I think Florida will be able to handle them. Now, third game of the year, USF. No need to talk about this game. Just like last year, it'll be a blowout. Then you got Tennessee, and then Florida has to go to Tennessee. Do I think Tennessee is going to be amazing this year? No, I don't. We got to go to Tennessee, a crowd of probably 101,000 people. It's going to be a rough environment. You got Hendon Hooker coming back. You got two good receivers and Jalen Hyatt and I always draw a blank on the other guy's name, but two really good receivers there too. Offensive line plays decent for what they have there. Defense got to get better for Tennessee. Defense is horrible. If Tennessee loses this game to Florida, it's going to be because of Tennessee's defense, and that's just all it is to it. I'm going to pick Tennessee to win this game at home. I think Tennessee's going to beat Florida at home this year. 17 out of the last 18 years, Florida has beat Tennessee. I think you finally get a good. Rematch. And you beat Florida this year. I'm just going to be honest with you. Tennessee's got a lot of hype going into this year. They got 5-star quarterback coming in, But like I said, man, I mean, we all remember the McDonald's bag situation, but we also remember that a lot of the players transferred and Heupel came in and did a lot with not very much. So I think in year 2 he's going to have a really big leg up. I don't think they're going to be amazing. Maybe not 10 wins, but 9 wins is definitely in contention for them. Maybe, but I will go ahead and give Tennessee the win in week 4 versus Florida. Now, week 5 at Eastern Washington. I'm not going to talk about this one either. Should be a blowout. This is a better team than USF. I'm just going to be honest there, but not going to be anything great there. Now we play Missouri. I don't think Missouri is going to be very good this year at all. Missouri did everything in their power in the offseason to get a quarterback, and they weren't really able to get what they wanted. They wanted JT Daniels. They wanted any kind of transfer with any kind of notice and notoriety or proven success. They were trying to get anybody. They lose Tyler Beatty, the most productive player on the team last year. Defense is horrible for Missouri. Horrible. I mean, it got a little bit better toward the end of last year, but it was horrible. And I know Missouri always gives Florida a little bit of trouble, but not this year. I don't think so. I think Florida bounces back from that loss from Tennessee and really just steamrolls Missouri. I just don't really think they're going to be any good this year. They do have a quarterback that I really like, and I can't remember his name off the top. He only played in a few games last year, really only a few snaps, but I told you how they were looking for quarterbacks. I don't know why they don't just go to him, but maybe they know something more than I do. So, but anyway, Missouri going to get stomped by Florida. I'm giving that a W. This is where we get tough. This is where we get really, really tough. The beginning of the schedule was tough, but now we're getting really tough. We got LSU at home. LSU is really questionable. LSU has probably 3 quarterbacks that they could start right away. Miles Brennan, Garrett Nussmeier, and Jaden Daniels. All 3 pretty good quarterbacks. Garrett Nussmeier, really the only one without experience. Miles Brennan has flashed a lot in the past. Keyshawn Butte back at receiver. The question for LSU is going to be really the O-line and the running backs. They're going to have to really do something to step up this year. This is kind of what Brian Kelly is good at, though. He's good at trench play and running the ball and defensive line play. They've got a lot of talent at defensive line. I think the defensive line will be really good for LSU also. Secondary is kind of not so much, a little bit lacking in depth, which is kind of out of the ordinary for LSU. So we'll see how that goes there. I'm going to go ahead and guess right now. LSU at home. I'm going to give us the win. But don't get your hopes up here. I'm just getting started. I'm giving LSU the loss here to Florida at home because I think Anthony Richardson is going to kind of be warmed up. I think they can stop the run against us, but I think we might be able to open it up in the passing game. And I don't think a lot of people are really high on Brian Kelly. I am high on him, and I know he's a good coach, but you ever have a feeling about something where you just don't know, you don't have an opinion, even though the facts are right there in front of you? That's kind of the thing I have about Brian Kelly. It's really weird. I've rarely felt anything like this, but that's just how I feel. I don't know. I just really don't know. And a lot of people have LSU at 7 wins this year, over under. Why? LSU is talented. They're as talented as Florida. Florida's over under is at 7.5, in some places 8. I don't know. I don't know if it's the West, but the West Division. I don't know. But anyway, I'm giving Florida the win here. But brace yourselves. Bad things are coming. Get a bye week. We go to Georgia. Now, you already know what I'm going to say here. The recruiting speaks for itself. The coaching speaks for itself. Georgia loses a lot on defense last year, right? They're definitely not going to be as good as they were last year on defense. They're still probably going to have Stetson Bennett at quarterback. That's an advantage to anybody that plays Georgia, to be honest, because of what they have on the bench at quarterback. But Georgia's running backs are absolutely loaded. Loaded. Offensive line is always good, and defense, you don't even have to think about it. Like I said, they lost a lot. I could name off I could name off probably 8 to 10 players right now that are high 4 and high 4 stars and 5 stars on that defense that played last year also and still were good last year that are coming back. So it's a tall task. I just don't think it's going to happen. Georgia's going to beat Florida. I don't know how bad. Hopefully, it's not bad, but Georgia is definitely probably going to beat Florida this year. In a first year installing everything, I mean, this is the kind of year where you get these games like USF and Eastern Washington. These are games where you get your depth experience and where you figure out things about your team. This isn't a year where you just. I mean, that's the case for a lot of. I mean, pretty much all teams. But you get what I'm saying. Florida has depth problems and talent issue, not talent issues, but talent at depth. So there's no way that I could ever pick Florida to win this game. Now, next is Texas A&M. We got to go to Texas A&M. Much like Tennessee, this crowd is going to be loaded. This is going to be a tough game. If we pull out the Tennessee win or the Texas A&M win, I mean, the Georgia win, of course, but I don't think that's going to happen. But if we pull out any of those wins, I'm going to be very impressed in Billy Napier. But we're going to Texas A&M. Texas A&M has an amazing. Not only did they have an amazing recruiting class coming in that can instantly impact them, but they have great defensive line play and good offensive line play. And Devon Achane at running back, he's due for a breakout year. I mean, he's really due. He's an amazing running back to replace Isaiah Spiller. There's not many weak spots on Texas A&M, except maybe if you want to go quarterback, which is Max Johnson. But Max Johnson has 2 years of experience at quarterback at LSU. It's hard to imagine he's going to be bad, but it's hard to imagine he's going to be amazing either. But I don't think it matters in this game. I think I think Texas A&M rolls. We might lose this game pretty badly. I hate to say that, but I actually really do think that. Now we go to South Carolina, right? South Carolina. Do we go to South Carolina? No, South Carolina at home. South Carolina is a weird team to figure out this year. They got Spencer Rattler coming back. They're going to have a good running game coming back and pretty much a good defensive line. Not, and I say good, I don't mean amazing, but pretty good play at those position levels. But other than that, I mean, they got Spencer Rattler and a few okay receivers, but like the receivers, everything else is just okay. You know, there's nothing really that stand outish about South Carolina. And South Carolina has a tough schedule, tough schedule, including us. Now, this is one of those games where this could be a trap game for me. A lot of people are talking about South Carolina beating Georgia this year. I don't see it. South Carolina beating Florida, though, I could. I hate doing this because I've only gave Florida 2 losses right now. Let me look at this. Yeah. I'm going to say I got to stay true to my word. I said Florida was going to be 8-4 at the end of the year. There's games that Florida's going to win that I'm projecting, like LSU. And then there's games, and Utah and Kentucky too, but there's games that we're going to probably lose that we shouldn't either. This is a really bold prediction, but I'm going to predict that we lose to South Carolina too. I don't know. It's really tough. I'm only doing this because I'm keeping my word. I don't see South Carolina really beating us at home, but crazy things happen. I don't know. I might have to go ahead and give them this. It's painful. And like I said, it's not because of talent or anything like that. I think Spencer Rattler later in their year, though, he's going to be really dialed in, and I think the whole team is going to play better because they're coached pretty well under Beamer. If I'm just going to be honest, they're pretty well coached as far as what the talent they have and what he's done in his first year and going into his second. And he's got a few transfers in there. I think, what did he get? Hazelwood from Oklahoma. Just know that this is a 50-50 for me. I'm not actually picking South Carolina, but I'm going to predict it right now because I'm on the spot and this is just where I'm at. Okay. So that's just how it is. Then we go to Vandy. Yeah. Vandy going to be 2-9, 2-10 this year. Not worried about that. Vandy's going to get smoked at Florida State. Florida State has a lot of work to do. Man, to be honest with you, Florida State really has a lot of work to do. They got the same quarterback for the what is this the fourth year? They're not recruiting amazingly, but they're not recruiting bad either. But they're not doing anything with it. It's going to take something serious to pull Florida State out of the hole they're in, and I just don't know if it's Mike Norvell or not. And honestly, if he goes anything less than 7-5 this year, and I've talked to Florida State fans about this, this is what they're telling me. If he doesn't go over 7-5 this year, he's gone. And first off, before I get on a rant real quick, and I'm going to end the video, I think Florida State is going to get mauled in this game. It is at Florida State, but I just don't see it happening. I'll be at this game. I think Florida State's going to get beat pretty bad this game, especially if they lose some games early in the year and then they're down by this point. Florida might completely roll. A little Mike Norvell rant though. Yeah, I mean, okay, he goes 6-6 or 7-5, and maybe you fire him, right? Who are you going to get to replace him, and how long is it going to take to pull them out of the gutter? Florida State has issues. They got to get the NIL together. The coaching staff is not developing very well. Really, they're not recruiting well, especially being in the state of Florida. And trust me, I know all about that. I know all about not recruiting well being in the state of Florida. But I'm just saying, they might have serious problems incoming. So yep, that gives me a Florida record of 8-4. As much as I want to say 9-3, and I might be wrong about these games that I'm picking, but I feel like at the end of the year, 8-4 will be the record. And you know what? I'm really not mad about it. I'm honestly not. I mean, first year head coach, not a lot, but a few people transfer out. A lot of depth issues, and this is going to play a big role in the season. If people start getting hurt at any point during this season, and we don't have depth to back it up, that's when you can drop a game like this South Carolina. That's why I'm trying to pick stuff like this, because you can have an injury at linebacker, and guess what? Ventrell Miller is the only person on at linebacker with experience this year. And then guess what? You're playing all pretty much new linebackers, and that's just an example. Same for the defensive line. Defensive line is very thin. Especially if Anthony Richardson gets hurt again, then guess what? It changes the whole outlook of the season. So when I predict this stuff right here, I'm predicting to where I'm not going to say nobody, but I'm saying nobody with extreme importance is getting hurt. Gervon Dexter, Anthony Richardson, that kind of thing. So that's just all it is to it. But I appreciate y'all watching, man. Let me know in the comments what you think. Who did I get wrong? Who did I get right? Do you think Florida upsets of Georgia, Texas A&M? Do you think we beat Tennessee? Do you think Kentucky is better than I say they are? Let me know, and I appreciate y'all watching, man. Deuce.